Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for Abyssos, the 8th Circle. This is the final new normal raid made available by patch 6.2 in Final Fantasy XIV Buried Memory. If this boss has you feeling fired up and you catch yourself glaring at your party, it might be time for some self-reflection. My name is Miztech and I'll be your raid guide. Genesis of Flame will deal high raid-wide damage and light the outer perimeter of the arena on fire. Players will need to avoid this edge or they'll be afflicted with Burn's debuff. When the boss casts Sunforge, all players will need to pay close attention to the animation around the boss. If you see a glowing snake, the attack will target the middle third of the platform directly through the boss. All players will need to stand on the east or west of the boss to avoid getting hit. If you see a glowing phoenix, the attack will instead target the two outer thirds of the platform and players will need to stand on the boss to avoid getting hit. The boss will cast Sunforge 3 times here, the first 2 showing you the 2 variants, while the third one is random. Adjust as necessary. Flame Viper will target the primary target with a line tank buster that will also afflict the player with a bleed. All other players should avoid the front of the boss at this time. Cooldown and heal as necessary. Reforged Reflection will cause the boss to morph into one of 2 possible forms. The next round of mechanics will depend on which form he's actively using. In this snake phase, the boss will cast Into the Darkness and 2 rotating glare markers will appear. These markers will move around the platform before settling into place. All players will have to turn away from the markers to avoid getting petrifaction. 2 Gorgons will spawn from these areas and they'll need to be destroyed before their casts go off. Meanwhile, the boss will turn to a random player and cast Gorgo Spit, a large line attack. Move away to avoid getting hit. Ectothermos will deal high raid-wide damage. Shield and heal as necessary. The boss will then return to normal and the encounter will continue. Fourfold Fires will form 4 proximity-based damage markers at each corner. Players can minimize damage by stacking in the center of the room. 4 vents will form and the boss will tether to 2 of them and cast Chthonic Vent. 2 snakes will leap into the vents, causing them to explode in wide AoE circles soon after. These snakes will then each leap into a new vent and cause those ones to explode. Players will have to watch the snakes jump to each vent to identify where they can safely stand. After 3 rounds of vent explosions, they'll disappear and the boss will continue his mechanics. The boss will cast Reforged Reflection again. In this weird centaur phase, the boss will first jump to a random edge of the platform before beginning to cast Blazing Footfalls. This attack will first knock back players from the center of the arena in the direction of the arrows. This initial knockback will be followed by another 2 or 3 knockback markers from random edges. Players will have to pay attention as the order of these markers appear and then adjust to each knockback to avoid getting punted into the wall. Rearing Rampage will deal high raid-wide damage. Healers be ready. The boss will then turn back to normal and the encounter will resume. Volcanic Torches will have 3 beams of blue spawn and travel on random lines of the platform to eventually form closed rectangles. Once formed, any closed rectangle shapes will explode for high damage and debuffs. Players will have to identify where the beams spawned from and watch as they travel around. Once you can determine where the rectangles will form, move to the safe corner of the platform to avoid getting hit. The second set of torches will coincide with circle markers on 4 players. As you move into the available safe zone, spread to avoid overlap. These mechanics will repeat until the next Reforged Reflection cast. At this point, mechanics will begin to overlap quite a bit. Boss clones will appear that will attack the outer edges of the platform, forcing players into the center of the arena to handle mechanics. The glare markers will rotate around the platform again, and players will have to look away from them once they settle into place. At the same time, 2 volcanic torches will begin to form 2 unsafe rectangles. Identify which lanes are being targeted and move into the safe zones while dodging boss attacks and destroying the 2 Gorgon adds. The boss will eventually return to normal and mechanics will continue to repeat. At this point, players will have to watch for volcanic torches forming the unsafe rectangles while also dealing with overlapping mechanics throughout the remainder of the fight. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Up next, we'll check out the new normal trial. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.